The smell hit David first. Rotting vegetables mixed with chemicals and something he could not name. He wiped sweat from his forehead and adjusted his tool belt. Working the night shift at Orbital Station 7's recycling depot meant dealing with garbage from 12 sectors. Not glamorous work, but it paid the bills and let him be home when Lily got back from school. David checked his watch. 2 more hours until his shift ended. Then home to his daughter, maybe catch a few hours of sleep before she woke up asking for breakfast. Being a single parent meant running on coffee and determination most days that a sound stopped him mid-step. Not the usual grinding of compactors or hiss of pressure vents. This was different. Organic. Almost like whimpering that he turned toward the organic waste section, following the noise. The lights flickered overhead, casting shadows between the massive sorting bins. His boots crunched on debris as he walked closer. There was again. Definitely not mechanical. David rounded the corner of a Foyt disposal unit and froze that a child crouched between 2 waste containers, small hands clutching something that might have once been food. Scales covered her thin arms, catching the dim light. Wings hung from her back, torn and dirty, one bent at an angle that made David wince. She looked up at him with golden eyes too large for her gaunt face. Not human. Dragon species, maybe. David had seen a few on the station, but never this close. Never this young. Never this desperate. She hissed and scrambled backward, dropping the rotting scraps she had been eating. Her whole body shook. "Hey, easy," David said, raising his hand slowly. "I'm not going to hurt you." She did not seem to understand. Or maybe she understood perfectly well that adults could not be trusted. David noticed the collar around her neck. Metal with a blinking light. A slave collar. Illegal in human space, but common enough in the outer sectors where regulations got fuzzy. Burns marked her scaled skin. Old scars crisscrossed her back. Someone had hurt this child. Badly. Repeatedly. David felt something cold settle in his chest. He thought of Lily, safe at home. 8 years old and already taller than this dragon girl who might be the same age or older. Lily had her own room, her stuffed animals, her books. She had never known hunger or fear like this. The girl tried to crawl deeper between the containers. Her wing caught on a metal edge, and she cried out. The sound hit David like a punch. Protocol said he should call station security. They would handle it. They would scan her collar, find her owner, return her. Property returned to its rightful owner. Case closed. That was how the system worked. David pulled out his communicator. His thumb hovered over the security contact. The dragon girl watched him with those huge golden eyes, waiting to see what this human would do, waiting for more pain because that was all she knew. David thought about his wife, Anna. 3 years gone now, taken by a transport accident. She used to say that doing the right thing was not always the easy thing. She said you help when you can help, period. He put the communicator back in his pocket. "Come on," he said softly. "Let's get you somewhere safe." The girl hissed again, pressing herself against the wall. She did not trust him. Why would she? David slowly pulled off his jacket. He held it out to her. "You're cold. Take it." She stared at the jacket like it might bite her. He laid on the ground between them and stepped back. "I have a daughter about your age. Her name is Lily. She has a warm bed and food. Real food, not this garbage." The dragon girl did not move, David sighed. This was going to be harder than he thought. He could not just grab her. She was terrified and those claws looked sharp. But he could not leave her here either. He sat down on the floor, making himself smaller, less threatening. "My name is David. I work here fixing things. Boring stuff mostly. But it means I know all the back passages. Places where security cameras don't reach." The girl tilted her head slightly. Maybe she understood some standard language. Maybe she was just confused why this human was sitting on the dirty floor. "Here's the thing," David continued. "That collar on your neck? It tracks you. Not very well in all this metal and interference, but well enough. Whoever put it on you will come looking eventually. And when they find you here, they'll take you back to wherever you escaped from." Her eyes widened. She understood that part at least. "Or," David said, "you come with me. I hide you. Get that collar off. Figure out the rest later." He stood up slowly and held out his hand. "What do you say?" The dragon girl looked at his hand, at his face, at the jacket still lying on the ground between them. David could see her weighing options. Trust this stranger or stay in the garbage, waiting to be found. She reached out one shaking hand and touched his fingers. Her scales felt rough and cold. Good choice, David said. He picked up his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. She flinched but did not pull away. Getting her through the maintenance corridors took 20 minutes. She fought him 3 times, panic overtaking sense. Each time David stopped, waited, spoke softly until she calmed down enough to continue. His security codes opened doors that most workers never SAW by the time they reached his small apartment in the residential section. David was sweating and the dragon girl looked ready to collapse. He locked the door behind them and turned on the lights. She immediately ran to the bathroom and wedged herself between the toilet and the wall, wings pulled tight against her body. David leaned against the doorframe. "Welcome home, I guess." She stared at him with those golden eyes, still waiting for the trap to spring, still waiting for the pain to start. David ran a hand through his hair. What he'd just done? He was harboring an unregistered alien with a slave collar. If station security found out, he would lose his job, might even get deported. And then what would happen to Lily? But looking at that terrified child huddled in his bathroom, he knew he would make the same choice again. "You're safe now," he told her, even though he had no idea how to make that true. "I promise." David's phone buzzed at 6 in the morning. He grabbed it quickly, not wanting the noise to wake Lily. The screen showed a message from his supervisor asking why he had not clocked out properly last night. He typed a quick excuse about system glitches and set the phone down. Across the room, the dragon girl still huddled in the corner where she had spent the entire night. He had tried 3 times to give her a blanket. Each time she had hissed and retreated further into herself. The plate of food he had left sat untouched near the bathroom door. At least the water glass was empty. That was something. David stood and stretched, his back protesting. Sleeping on the couch was not getting easier as he got older. He needed to go to work. The bills would not pay themselves. But he could not leave her alone, not like this. That he called his supervisor. "I am sick. Need to take a day." "You never take sick days," the supervisor said, suspicion clear in his voice. "Yeah, well, there's a first time for everything." David ended the call before more questions came. The dragon girl watched him from her corner. Her golden eyes tracked his every movement. Predator instincts, maybe, or prey instincts. Hard to tell which. David went to the kitchen and made breakfast. Simple stuff. Scrambled eggs, toast, some fruit. He put it on 2 plates and sat at the small table, eating slowly. He pushed the second plate toward the edge closest to her. "You should eat," he said between bites. Real food, not garbage. She did not move. That he finished his meal and left the second plate on the table. Then he went to check on Lily, who was still sleeping in her room. His daughter had stayed over at a friend's place last night, which had made sneaking the dragon girl inside much easier. But she would be home by noon. How was he going to explain this to an 8-year-old? David returned to the living room and found the plate empty. The dragon girl was back in her corner, but her eyes looked a little less hollow. "Progress. Good," he said. "There's more if you want it." She tilted her head, watching him. David tried speaking slowly, using simple words. "My name is David. Can you understand me?" No response. "Do you have a name?" Still nothing. He tried a different approach. He pointed to himself. "David." Then he pointed to her and raised his eyebrows. The dragon girl stared at him for a long moment. Then, so quietly he almost missed it, she made a sound. "Rena, Rena," David repeated. She nodded once, a very human gesture that surprised him. "Okay, Rena. Good to meet you." He pointed around the apartment. "This is home. You're safe here." She did not look convinced. The door opened and Lily burst in, backpack bouncing against her shoulders. "Dad, I'm home. Can we get pizza for dinner?" Sarah's mom let us have pizza, and it was so good, and she stopped dead, staring at Rena. David stood quickly. "Lily, honey, I can explain." But Lily was not scared. She dropped her backpack and walked slowly toward Rena, her face full of concern. "Dad, why is she hiding? Did someone hurt her?" "Lily, wait." His daughter sat down on the floor, a careful distance from Rena, but close enough to be present. She pulled her favorite stuffed bear from her backpack. Hi, Lily said softly. My name is Lily. This is Mr. Patches. He's very brave, and he protects me from bad dreams. Rena watched the child with obvious confusion. Maybe she had never seen a human child before. Maybe she had never been spoken to with kindness. Lily set Mr. Patches on the floor between them. You can hold him if you want. He's good at making people feel better. David held his breath. He should probably stop this, pull Lily away to safety. But something about the way his daughter approached this with pure innocence and compassion made him pause. Rena looked at the stuffed bear, then at Lily, then back at the bear. Slowly, she reached out one scaled hand and touched the soft fur. See, Lily smiled. He's nice. And so are we. Dad's the best dad in the whole station. He fixes things. And I'm in 3rd grade, and I like drawing. She pulled out a tablet and started sketching with her stylus. Simple shapes at first, then more complex. She showed Rena each drawing. A house, a flower, a stick figure with scales and wings. That's you, Lily said, pointing at the scaled figure. You're pretty. Rena made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been surprise. She touched the screen, tracing the digital lines. Lily handed her the stylus. You try. Rena held the stylus awkwardly and used as such tools. She drew a shaky circle, then another. Lily clapped. Good job. Draw more. David watched his daughter work magic he could not explain. Where his presence had brought fear, Lily's brought curiosity. Where his words had found walls, Lily's found cracks. By the time the afternoon sun filtered through the apartment windows, Rena had moved from the corner to the center of the room. She sat next to Lily, both of them drawing on the tablet. She still flinched at sudden movements and kept her wings tucked tight, but the raw terror had faded to mere caution. When Lily offered her a juice box, Rena took it. She fumbled with the straw until Lily showed her how it worked. The first sip made her eyes widen. She drank the whole thing in seconds. She likes it, Lily announced proudly. Can she stay, Dad? Please. David looked at Rena, at the collar still locked around her neck, at the scars visible beneath her scales, at the way she had finally, tentatively, smiled when Lily had drawn a picture of them all holding hands. Yeah, he said, she can stay. That night, Rena fell asleep on the couch instead of hiding in the bathroom. She clutched Mr. Patches to her chest. Lily had insisted she keep the bear. David sat at his computer, researching dragon species and slave collars and legal codes he barely understood. His supervisor had called twice more. Security scanner logs showed his maintenance access had been used in unauthorized areas. Questions were coming that he had maybe 2 days before this all came crashing down. 2 days to figure out how to remove that collar. 2 days to find a way to protect a child who was not his species, not his legal responsibility, and not registered to exist on this station. But when he looked at Rena sleeping peacefully for probably the first time in months, he knew he would use every second of those 2 days. His phone buzzed with another message. He ignored it and went back to researching. Tomorrow would bring its own problems. Tonight, a child was safe. That had to be enough. Patricia looked at David like he had lost his mind. The medical officer sat in his apartment, arms crossed, lips pressed into a thin line. She had known him for 5 years, had helped him through the worst days after Anna died. But this was different. You're asking me to risk my entire career, she said. David gestured toward the couch where Rena sat with Lily, both of them watching a children's show on the screen. Look at her, Pat. Really look. Patricia did look. She saw the scales that caught the light, the wings that twitched with each loud sound from the show, the collar that marked Rena as property. She also saw how the dragon girl leaned against Lily, how they shared snacks, how Rena laughed at the silly cartoon characters. She's a child, David continued. Someone beat her, starved her, left her to die in the garbage. I can't just ignore that. She's not human, David. If she was human, would you say no? Patricia closed her eyes. When she opened them again, something had shifted in her expression. You gonna get me fired? Is that a yes? That's a probably, which is the best you're getting. She stood and walked over to Rena. Hey there, can I look at you? Rena glanced at David. He nodded. She turned back to Patricia and extended one thin arm. Patricia pulled out a small medical scanner from her bag. She ran it over Rena's body, her face growing darker with each reading. Malnutrition, several healed fractures that set wrong. Burn scars, signs of repeated physical trauma. She looked at David. Someone did this deliberately, over a long period. Can you help her? Medically? Yes. Legally? Patricia shook her head. That collar has a tracking signature. Basic stuff, short range, but it's there. Whoever owned her could be scanning for it right now. Can you remove it? I'm a doctor, not a locksmith. Those things are designed not to come off without the right codes. David felt his hopes sinking. He had called Patricia because she was the only person he trusted with this. If she could not help, he was out of options. Patricia must have seen the despair on his face. But I know someone who might be able to help. You're not the first human who's had a problem with how the galaxy treats certain species. What do you mean? She pulled out her communicator and typed something. There's a network. Small. Quiet. Humans mostly. We help when we can. Help with what? Slaves. Escaped ones. The galaxy has rules about ownership. Most species accept them. But humans? She smiled grimly. We have a different history with slavery. We remember what it was like. So we help when we can. David had no idea such a network existed. How many? On this station? Maybe 20 of us. Across human space? More. We stay hidden because what we do is technically illegal. She looked at Rena. But some laws deserve to be broken. 2 hours later, David found himself in a maintenance tunnel he had never noticed before. Patricia led the way, followed by David carrying Rena. Lily had stayed home with a neighbor, told that Dad had to work late. The tunnel opened into a small room filled with equipment. A human man with gray hair and scars on his hands looked up from a workbench. This is Ben, Patricia said. He removes collars. Ben studied Rena with practiced eyes. Dragon species. Young. What did you find her? Recycling depot, David said. She was eating garbage. Ben's expression hardened. They usually are. Dragons are classified as non-sentient by galactic law. Means they could be bought and sold like animals. He held out his hand to Rena. Let me see that collar, sweetheart. Rena hesitated, then approached. Ben examined the collar carefully, using tools David did not recognize. Standard slave model. Cheap but effective. I can get it off, but it will take time. He looked at David. While I work, you should know what you're getting into. I am listening. That collar broadcasts a weak signal. Range is about half a kilometer in open space, less through station walls. But if her owner comes looking, if they get close enough, they'll find her. Ben started working on the collar with precise movements. Once this comes off, you've got a choice. We can hide her. Move her off station to a human colony where she'll be safe. And if I want to keep her, then you need to make her legal. Apply for custodial rights. Galactic courts sometimes grant humans custody of rescued animals. The way he said animals made it clear what he thought of that classification. Problem is, if her original owner shows up with documentation, you lose. Their claim trumps yours every time. That's not fair. Fairness is a human concept, Patricia said quietly. Most species don't share it. Ben worked in silence for several minutes. Then the collar clicked and fell away. He handed it to David. There. She's free from this, at least. Rena touched her neck where the collar had been. She looked at David with those huge golden eyes, and for the first time, they held something besides fear. Hope, maybe. Or trust. Ben stood and cleaned his tools. You've got maybe a week before questions start. Station security will notice irregularities. They always do. Use that time wisely. David nodded. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You're about to learn what it means to fight the system. Ben looked at Rena. But she's worth it. They always are. On the way back through the tunnels, Patricia stopped David. There's something else you should know. We've been tracking dragon disappearances for years. There's a pattern. They're taken young from their home world during legal resource extraction operations. Their families are killed. The survivors are sold. That's genocide. That's economics, according to galactic law. She paused. But humans see it differently. We're organizing, documenting, building cases. It's slow work, dangerous work. People have lost jobs, been deported worse. Why are you telling me this? Because you're part of it now, whether you want to be or not. You saved one dragon girl, but there are thousands more. Once you see the problem, you can't unsee it. David looked at Rena, sleeping against his shoulder. One is enough for now. Is it? Patricia asked. Because in my experience, humans who care about one oppressed child end up caring about them all. It's who we are. David did not answer. He carried Rena home through the hidden passages, thinking about networks and laws and the weight of doing what was right when the system said it was wrong. When he got home, Lily was waiting. Did you fix your collar, Dad? Yeah, honey. All fixed. Good. Lily hugged Rena. Now she's really part of our family. David hoped it was that simple, but he knew better. The hard part was just beginning. 3 days of peace felt like a lifetime. Rena learned to speak more standard every day. She picked up words faster than any child David had ever seen. By the third day, she could form simple sentences. I hungry. Lily nice. Home safe. Dragons apparently matured faster than humans mentally. Patricia had explained this during one of her quiet visits. Rena was probably 7 years old physically, but her mind developed quicker. She understood far more than she could express. David filed the paperwork for exotic animal adoption. The forms made him sick to his stomach. Calling Rena an animal felt like a betrayal, but it was the only legal path forward. Then the knock came. Station security stood at his door. Behind them, a creature David had never seen before. Tall, with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. Its eyes were cold and calculating. David Chun, the security officer asked. Yes. We need to speak with you about missing property. The 4-armed creature pushed forward. I am Quellen. You have something that belongs to me. David's blood ran cold. I don't know what you're talking about. Quellen pulled out a datapad and showed an image. Rena, younger, thinner, but definitely her. This labor unit was purchased legally. It escaped during a station transfer 3 weeks ago. My tracking equipment indicates it was last in this sector. I work in recycling. Lots of signals down there. Indeed, Quellen's voice was smooth, practiced. Nevertheless, galactic law is clear. Return of stolen property is mandatory. The penalties for harboring unregistered aliens are severe. Behind David, Rena had frozen in place. Lily stood next to her, holding her hand. Both girls stared at the creature in the doorway. The security officer looked uncomfortable. Sir, if you have any information about the missing dragon, you need to disclose it. David thought fast. I filed adoption papers 2 days ago for a rescue dragon. Check your records. Quellen laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Adoption papers are irrelevant. I have bills of sale, transport documentation, and purchase receipts, all properly filed. This unit is my legal property. She's not property. She's a child. She is classified as a non-sentient being under galactic law. Therefore, she is property. Quellen moved closer. I have been patient. I have followed proper channels. But my patience ends now. Return my property or face criminal charges. The security officer pulled up his communicator. Station commander wants to see both of you. Now, the station commander was a tall alien with purple skin and too many eyes. She listened to both sides without expression. Quellen presented his documentation. Everything was in order. Bills of sale from a legal resource extraction company. Transport permits. Even maintenance records is showing credits spent on the dragon's upkeep. David presented his adoption application. Filed 3 days ago. No decision yet. The commander looked at both documents. The law is clear. Legal ownership claims supersede adoption applications. Mr. Quellen has every right to reclaim his property. She's not property, David repeated. Your feelings on the matter are irrelevant. I'm giving you 24 hours to return the dragon or face arrest for theft. David stood. I need time to think. 24 hours. Not a minute more. Outside the commander's office, Patricia was waiting. She must have heard. The network was fast. We can get her off station tonight, she whispered. Small cargo ship, leaving in 4 hours. She'll be safe on a human colony. And me, you'll face charges. Probably lose your job. Maybe deportation. She grabbed his arm. But Rena will be alive and free. David walked home in a daze. When he entered his apartment, Lily and Rena looked up from the puzzle they were working on. The moment they saw his face, Lily knew. They want to take her back, she said. Yeah, we can't let them, Dad. We can't. Rena spoke, her standard clearer now. I go back. No trouble for David. No trouble for Lily. Absolutely not, David said. I am animal. Law says, I am animal. Tears ran down her scaled cheeks. Dragons could cry. David had learned that 3 days ago. Better I go. You safe. Lily hugged her tight. You're not an animal. You're my sister. David knelt in front of them both. Listen to me. There are people who can hide you, get you somewhere safe. But I need to know that's what you want. Rena looked at Lily, then at David. You are family. First family since. She struggled for the words. Since fire. Since mother die. Since they take me. Then we fight, David said. I don't know how, but we fight. That night, word spread through the human population on the station. David did not know how. Maybe Patricia told someone who told someone else. Maybe the network had its own communications he knew nothing about. But humans started arriving at his door. They came in ones and twos. Station workers, shop owners, teachers, mechanics. They offered money, legal assistance, places to hide. One elderly woman pressed a credit chip into his hand. For the child, she said simply that the human lawyer arrived. I'll represent you pro bono. The case is weak, but it's something. A teacher from Lily's school brought food. We're with you, she said to BY midnight. Nearly 40 humans had cycled through his small apartment. Not one of them asked why. They just saw a child in danger and responded. The alien security officer assigned to monitor David's building reported this to the station commander. She watched the video feeds with growing confusion. Why do they care? She asked her assistant. It's just one dragon child. Her assistant, also alien, shrugged. Humans are strange. They form emotional attachments to things that are not their species. It's irrational, yes, but also consistent. The commander pulled up David's file. Clean record. Never missed a day of work until this week. Raised a human child alone after his mate died. Nothing special, just another maintenance worker. Yet 40 humans had shown up to support him. More were coming according to the feeds. What are they planning? The commander wondered aloud. Her assistant checked the data. Nothing illegal that we can detect. They're just present. The commander did not understand. In her species, you protected your own and ignored the rest. That was logical. That was survival. But humans seemed to have a different calculation. They protected things that had no evolutionary benefit to them. It was inefficient. Illogical. Potentially problematic. She made a note to watch this situation carefully. David sat in his apartment, surrounded by evidence of human solidarity. Credit chips, food, legal documents, offers of help. Lily slept with Rena on the couch, their hands linked even in sleep. Patricia sat across from him. You've started something, she said quietly. I don't think you realize what this means. I just wanted to save one kid. And now 40 humans are willing to risk their jobs to help you. That's how it starts. One person does the right thing. Others see it and want to help. Before you know it, you have a movement. I don't want a movement. I want Rena safe. Maybe you get both. Or maybe you lose everything. Patricia stood to leave. Either way, you've reminded us what we're supposed to be. That counts for something. After she left, David looked at the sleeping girls. He had 20 hours left. 20 hours to figure out how to fight a system designed to crush people like him. But he was not alone anymore. That had to mean something. The hearing room was packed. David had expected maybe a few people. Instead, every seat held a human. They filled the back rows, lined the walls, sat on the floor. More waited outside because the room could not hold them all. The station commander looked at the crowd with visible irritation. This is a property dispute, not a public spectacle. David's lawyer, a sharp woman named Grace, stood. My client invokes his right to public proceedings under human settlement charter provisions. This is not a human court, but it is a station with human charter protections. Check your regulations, Commander. The commander's many eyes narrowed, but she nodded. Proceed. Quellen sat across from David, confident and relaxed. Why would he not be? The law was entirely on his side. He had documentation. David had hope and desperation. The facts are simple, Quellen's lawyer began. My client legally purchased a dragon labor unit. It escaped. It was recovered in this man's possession. Galactic law requires return of property. Grace stood. We're not disputing ownership. We're challenging the classification. My client believes Rena is sentient, not property. Dragon sentience has never been recognized by any galactic court. Then perhaps it's time to start. The commander sighed. I'm required to allow a sentience evaluation. But understand these tests have been administered to dragons before. They fail. We request human evaluators be included. Grace said. Denied. The evaluation board must be neutral. Neutral means non-human. In this system, Grace muttered, but sat down. They brought Rena in. She wore the simple dress Lily had picked out for her. Her scales were clean, her wings carefully groomed. She looked healthier than the creature David had found in the garbage. But fear still lived in her eyes. The evaluation board consisted of 5 aliens from different species. They asked Rena questions. Complex mathematical problems, logic puzzles, pattern recognition tests, things designed to measure intelligence by galactic standards. Rena struggled. Not because she was not smart, but because the test made no sense for how her mind worked. David watched her confidence crumble with each failed puzzle. Quellen smiled. Then Patricia stood. She was not supposed to be part of the proceedings, but she stood anyway. May I address the board? The commander looked annoyed. This is irregular. I'm a medical officer. Uve examined Rena extensively. I have evidence relevant to this hearing. Make it brief. Patricia pulled up holographic displays. Brain scans, behavioral studies, language acquisition data. Rena has learned standard in 3 days. She shows complex emotional responses. She forms deep attachments. She understands abstract concepts like family and safety. One of the board members, a creature with crystal-like skin, spoke. Animals can be trained to mimic behavior. She's not mimicking. She's creating. She draws pictures of her lost family. She dreams and wakes crying. She asks questions about death and love. Patricia's voice grew stronger. I've worked with dozens of species. Rena is sentient by any reasonable measure. Reasonable by human standards, the crystal creature said. Not by galactic ones. Grace called witness after witness. Teachers who testified about Rena's learning. Neighbors who described her interactions with other children. Even Lily took the stand, small and brave. Rena is my sister, Lily said clearly. She tells me stories about her mom and dad. About her home before bad people took her. Sisters remember things like that. Quellen's lawyer dismissed it all. Trained responses. The human child has been deceived by superficial similarities. Hours passed. The board looked bored. David felt hope slipping away. These aliens did not see what he saw. They could not understand. Then Rena spoke. She had been silent the whole hearing, as instructed. But something inside her broke. She stood and addressed the board directly. I am Rena. I am daughter of Sereth and Marana. I am from Greenworld with 2 sons. Her standard was rough but clear. Men come. They have fire. They kill my mother. Kill my father. Kill my little brother. Take me. Put me in cage. The room went silent. I work in mines. If I slow, they hit me. If I cry, they burn me. I learn not to cry, not to be slow. I learn to be quiet, to be small, to be nothing. Tears ran down her face. Then I escape. I hide in garbage. You eat rot. I think I die there. She looked at David. Then David find me. He is kind. First kind since my family died. He give me food. Give me home. Give me daughter, sister. Give me family again. She turned back to the board. You say I am animal. But animal not remember love. Animal not miss mother. Animal not know what family mean. Her voice broke. If I am animal, why does my heart hurt when I remember my home? Why do I dream of my brother and wake up crying? Why do I love David and Lily like I loved my first family? The room was completely still. Even Quellen looked uncomfortable. If I am animal, Rena whispered, why do I remember what it means to be free? The board members looked at each other. The crystal creature shifted. We need to deliberate. They left the room. Everyone waited. David held his breath. Lily held Rena's hand. 20 minutes later, the board returned. We find the evidence inconclusive, the lead member said. While the dragon shows signs of higher cognitive function, These do not meet the threshold for species-wide sentience recognition under established precedent. David's heart sank. However, the creature continued, "We cannot in good conscience classify this specific individual as property. We recommend provisional sentient status pending further study." "Unacceptable," Quellen's lawyer shouted. "You cannot grant sentience to one member of a species. Either they all are or none are. We are granting provisional status to this individual as an exception requiring further examination. The Galactic Council will overturn this decision. Perhaps, but for now it stands." The commander looked frustrated. "This solves nothing. Mr. Quellen still has legal ownership documentation. The dragon is still his property by existing law." Gray smiled. "Not if she's sentient. Sentient beings cannot be owned. This is a delaying tactic," Quellen hissed. "I will appeal. I will take this to the highest courts. I will have what is mine." "Appeal all you want," Grace said. "But until the appeal is decided, Rena stays with David under protective custody." David felt like he could breathe again. It was not victory. Not really. Just a postponement. But postponement meant time. Time meant possibilities. The commander banged her gavel. "This hearing is adjourned. The dragon remains in David Chen's custody pending appeal to Galactic Council." Outside the hearing room, humans cheered. They had not won the war, but they had won the battle. For now, that was enough. Quellen pushed through the crowd, his face dark with rage. "This is not over, human. I will have my property back, and you will pay for this delay." David looked him in the eye. "She's not property, and I'll fight you every step of the way." As they left the building, Patricia pulled David aside. "You know this is going to the Galactic Council, right? They've never ruled in favor of dragon sentience. Never. I know. You're probably going to lose. I know that too. So why do you look happy?" David watched Rena and Lily walking ahead, holding hands and laughing about something. "Because right now, she's safe. Right now, she's free. Maybe that's all I get. Maybe tomorrow it all falls apart. But right now, I gave a child her childhood back." Patricia smiled. "Humans really are strange." "Yeah," David agreed. "We really are." The video changed everything. Lily had recorded it without telling anyone. Just her tablet, propped on the counter, capturing ordinary moments. Rena reading a book. Rena drawing pictures. Rena laughing at a joke. Rena asking David what the stars were made of. Lily titled it, "This is My Sister," and posted it to the Human Network. Within 6 hours, 3 million humans had watched it. Within 12 hours, every human settlement in the galaxy had seen it. A dragon child who spoke, who questioned, who loved. A child who was supposed to be an animal. David only found out when his communicator started buzzing nonstop. Messages from humans he had never met. From colony worlds he had never heard of. All saying the same thing. "We see her. We understand. How can we help?" The Galactic Council noticed too. Hard not to when human trade ships started broadcasting the video on public channels. When human workers on stations across the galaxy began wearing small dragon pins. When human politicians on council worlds started asking uncomfortable questions. "Your species is causing disruptions," the council representative told the human ambassador. "My species is exercising free speech. Over one dragon child. Over the principle. If one dragon is sentient, they all are. If they're all sentient, then the entire dragon slave trade is illegal. That trade employs millions. Shutting it down would cause economic collapse in 6 sectors." The human ambassador smiled coldly. "Then I guess you should have thought about that before building an economy on slavery." Back on Orbital Station 7, life had changed. Humans David barely knew stopped him in corridors to offer support. They brought food, supplies, legal documents. The network that had been hidden now operated in the open. 40 humans had grown to 400 on this station alone. But not everyone was happy. David's supervisor pulled him aside. "You're making things difficult. The station relies on good relationships with all species. This dragon thing is causing problems. She has a name. Rena. I don't care what you call it. The non-human populations are getting nervous. They think humans are trying to force our values on everyone. Is basic decency a human value now? Look, I like you, David, but this can't continue. Either you give up the dragon or you're fired. David looked at the man he had worked with for 7 years. Then I guess I'm fired. He walked out of the office with his head high and his stomach in knots. How would he support Lily and Rena now? But the moment he posted about losing his job, offers came flooding in. 3 different human companies wanted to hire him. One offered double his previous salary. Humans take care of their own, Patricia explained. And right now you're one of ours. The Galactic Council's response came 2 weeks later. They rejected the provisional sentient status. Dragons were officially classified as non-sentient. Quellen had the right to reclaim his property. The human ambassador walked out of the council chambers. Within hours, human ships began refusing to dock at stations that enforced dragon slavery. Human workers walked off jobs. It was not organized. No one had planned it. But humans across the galaxy seemed to reach the same conclusion independently. The economic impact was immediate. Humans operated most of the dangerous jobs in space. They crewed the mining ships, maintained the reactors, fixed the life support systems. The jobs that required someone willing to risk death for a paycheck. When they stopped working, stations started having problems. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. The human ambassador presented a simple proposal. Recognize dragon sentience. End dragon slavery. Phase it out over 10 years to minimize economic disruption. And if we refuse? A council member asked. Then humans will continue to refuse cooperation with systems that practice slavery. You cannot strong-arm the council. We're not strong-arming anyone. We're simply choosing not to participate in slavery. That's our right. The debate raged for 3 days. Species that relied on slave labor argued economics. Species that valued stability argued tradition. But the human position never changed. On the 4th day, the council voted. Recognition of dragon sentience passed by the narrowest margin in council history. Dragons would be freed over the next decade. Owners would be compensated. New laws would be written. IT was not perfect. It was not fast enough, but it was a start. Quellen arrived at David's apartment one last time. His 4 arms were empty. His eyes were defeated. I am ruined, he said. My entire business was built on dragon labor. The compensation does not cover my losses. Good, David said simply. You destroyed my life over one dragon. You destroyed her life first. I just balanced the scales. Quellen left without another word. 6 months later, David sat at dinner with his family. Rena had grown. She spoke standard fluently now. She went to school with Lily. She had friends, both human and non-human. She still had nightmares sometimes, but they came less often. Dad, she said between bites of food. My teacher asked why humans helped dragons when no one else did. What did you tell her? I said because humans remember being told they were not people once. They remember being property, so they will not let it happen to others. David smiled. That's a good answer. His communicator buzzed. Another message from the network. Another dragon found, another station, another child in need of help. David looked at Rena. She nodded. He typed his response. We'll take them in. Lily looked up from her homework. Another one. Yeah, a young one. Scared. Then they'll need Mr. Patches, Lily said, already heading to her room to get the bear. Rena stood. I will make the room ready. I remember being new. I remember being scared. I can help. David watched his daughters work together, preparing for another frightened child who needed safety. This was not what he had planned when he found Rena in the garbage. He had just wanted to save one child. But Patricia had been right. You save one, you see the problem. You see the problem, you can't ignore it. You can't ignore it, you become part of the solution. The human network had grown. Across the galaxy, humans were taking in dragons, hiding them, protecting them, fighting for them. The Galactic Council had made slavery illegal, but enforcement was slow. In the meantime, humans did what humans did best. They helped. Not because it was profitable, not because it was easy, but because they remembered what it meant to be called less than human. They remembered chains and auctions and families torn apart. They remembered the long fight for freedom. And they refused to let another species suffer what they had suffered. David's communicator showed details about the new dragon. Female, 6 years old, found in a mining facility. Burns on 70% of her body. He felt the familiar anger rise. Another child tortured. Another family destroyed. But also another chance to make things right. When do they arrive? Rena asked. Tomorrow morning. Good. I will tell her about her new home. About her new family. About being safe. Rena touched David's shoulder. I will tell her what you told me. That she does not have to be afraid anymore. David pulled both his daughters into a hug. Lily, human and small. Rena, dragon and growing stronger every day. Different species, same family. Outside his window, the stars shone cold and distant. The galaxy was vast and often cruel. But in this small apartment on Orbital Station 7, 3 people had built something the galaxy had tried to deny: a family. Real and chosen and protected. The communicator buzzed again. More messages. More dragons being found. More humans stepping up. David looked at the messages and smiled. One single father had refused to leave a child in the garbage. That choice had sparked something that spread across the stars: that IT was not enough. Not yet. Thousands of dragons still suffered. The law had changed, but reality moved slower than paperwork. But it was a start. And sometimes, David thought, a start is all you need. He sent replies to the messages. Yes, they would help coordinate. Yes, they would share what they had learned. Yes, they would continue fighting, because that was what humans did. They saw suffering and responded. They saw injustice and fought back. They saw children in need and became family. Rena called from the other room. David, Lily wants to know if the new dragon likes the same foods I do. We'll find out tomorrow. He called back tomorrow. Another day, another dragon, another chance to do the right thing. David cleaned up from dinner and looked at the pictures on his wall. Anna smiling. Lily is a baby. And new pictures now. Rena's first day of school. Rena and Lily dressed up for a festival. Rena laughing, free and safe. Every picture told story. His story. Their story. The story of a single father who refused to walk away. The story of a species that remembered chains and broke them for others. That IT was not the life he had planned, but it was the life he had chosen. And looking at his daughters working together, preparing to welcome another frightened child into their home, he would not change a single moment. The galaxy was learning something it should have known all along. Humans protected the vulnerable. Humans rememberat suffering. And humans, when they saw a child in need, became family. And no matter what species that child was, that was what made them human.